Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the difference between Copilot Chat and the relatively new Copilot AI agent in Excel. Honestly, looking at AI agent in Excel, it's a feature I've really been waiting for, something that can work directly with the data and save huge amounts of time. And I don't really think that people are using both of the features in Excel, Copilot Chat and Copilot AI agent, to their full potential. In my current role as a marketing data analyst, I'm always looking for ways to stay up to date on all the new features that you can get in spreadsheets. So like and subscribe if you want to see more on maximizing your productivity with AI and automation in spreadsheets. Let's get into it. So how do you actually get this up and running? You can access both features just as soon as you've paid for even just the base level personal Copilot license. It's around £8.50 a month for the 365 personal subscription. Once you've selected that personal individual plan, you then create an Outlook account if you don't already have one. And then that's when I then entered the inbox for my Outlook account. You could select the app web version. I opened up the app and immediately I could start accessing the Copilot Chat and AI agent features. So really simple. And then of course, if you look at all the different kinds of plans available, they've got business plans, enterprise plans. So it really is checking if your company already have potentially an enterprise plan or something like that, which can allow lots of people to use these features. So it's definitely worth checking because you may already have access to it, but just don't know it yet. So let's start with the standard Copilot Chat function. This is pretty much like having an analyst in the sidebar. It's great for surface level questions and getting answers quickly, but it's a bit limited on how it interacts with your data. Let's have a look. Okay, so we're going to have a look at Copilot Chat first. So just up here on the home ribbon, click Copilot, and then we've got our prompt bar to put in our first question. So the data we've got here is pretty much email send data for a CRM team, and it covers all of Q4 of last year. Now, the first thing you need to do when you open up the Copilot Chat feature is you need to upload the workbook so that the Copilot can see the data and have visibility on everything that's added to the workbook. So you simply just go to add, the plus sign, the plus symbol, add content, and then here's my data set here. And I upload that there. I might just add a prompt to give some context. Cool. Here is a data set of CRM email send data, which I'll be asking you questions on now. So first things first, we're going to have a look at just asking Chat to provide us with an overall summary table of specific things I want to look at. So I enter the prompt for it to provide me with a summary table of data showing the average open and click rates for each email category in the data set across all of Q4, which is what all of this data covers. So, amazing. There we go. Great. What's the case in Copilot Chat is that it will provide you the answer in a table here, and I can add that to a new sheet. Okay, so let's run something else past Copilot Chat now. So working with that same data set, I've now got a tab here where I've deliberately put in a variety of errors into the data. So missing values, incorrect naming conventions, and things like that, because I want to explore Copilot Chat's ability to be able to find them all and also be able to how it returns me the answers. So I've just returned back to the chat I've got open, Copilot Chat, enter in my prompt. Please search through this data and highlight any apparent mistakes and anything you deem to be a mistake and let me know. Enter that in, give it some time to think. I realized actually in just doing that second prompt to find mistakes, I didn't detail which tab I'd created specifically with mistakes. I'd be quite interested to dive a bit deeper to understand if it's going to look at all the tabs in a workbook or just the tab that I'm currently on. In the response to my message, the first bit of the response, it does highlight that it knows what I want, what tab I want it to look at, or the one that I'm currently on, I think, which is what it is. It's looking at another tab as well. Now that's quite useful actually. Rather than sort of only looking at the tab I'm on, it's kind of immediately started identifying mistakes in the format mistakes tab here, which I've got, which is about something else I want to look at. That's going to be really helpful if I'm not even aware that there are mistakes somewhere completely different elsewhere in the workbook that I might need to put attention to, but this kind of itemizes all of the mistakes I need to look at throughout the workbook, which I think is actually really cool. Okay, let's ask it, and I just want to be looking at this tab. Okay, so I've just prompted it here that I want it to only look at that particular tab, but return me the data that's cleaned or with the mistakes highlighted, so it's easier for me or someone else coming to the workbook to understand what they need to be looking at. It is quite insane just how thorough the response is. Like, it's going into so much detail. I wonder if someone in a rush would care much about all that it's got to say. Okay, so for the sake of ease, if someone's coming to this data set, they want things to be highlighted, where all the issues are so they can do something about it in the fastest, easiest way. I just said, please provide me with a link to a new workbook with errors highlighted for me. And this was what happened the first time around when I first started using Copilot Chat to find mistakes and errors and things like that. Okay, so it provided me with a new workbook, but only actually I brought across the data from that workbook to the one we're currently on. And actually what came out in the data it provided me was sort of only provided the problem areas. So for instance here, a category that's not named correctly, here and here, that should be mortgages, campaign names that are missing the dates at the end of them. So it's highlighted the problems only. But what I do like that it's done is it's provided me like a mini kind of description of what's going wrong. Campaign name missing the dates, which is correct. I think it's quite smart that it can actually spot exactly what the issue is. Same with the campaign category naming conventions, and it has spotted here for the general sends. For the click rate, there is just some missing values for those particular campaigns, but that's quite cool. I guess if I was someone that needed all the rows that had a problem in the row, and I could just send that particular tab off to someone else who can extract the data and understand exactly what campaigns had errors in, that's quite cool, that's handy. So just before we move on to the AI agent feature as well, there was one stumbling block I came up to when I started using both features, and that's in terms of the kind of hoops you need to jump through with Copilot Chat when allowing it to access and have visibility on your data so you can start asking it questions. I think as a rule of thumb, it's always really good to ensure that anything is saved to the Microsoft OneDrive. Therefore, in the AI agent version, it will always have access to any kind of data that you put into your workbook or whatever's going on. It will always have access, and it needs things to be uploaded to OneDrive. That's how it can carry out its work. So definitely something to keep in mind. But I think as a rule of thumb, always make sure it's saved to the OneDrive. You always get a pretty decent amount of space, even on the personal plan, so it should be fine. But it was definitely a bit of an issue I run into, so I wanted to mention that. Instead of the limitations that the chat function had, the Copilot AI agent can now make changes directly to the data without having to return tables in the chat bar or links to extra workbooks and things like that. This is what I think is going to make things so much easier and really kind of reduce the time it takes to do all your kind of regular tasks with anything Excel related. So again, it's super easy to access and is available in the personal plan that you pay £8.50 for. If I go down to the chat bar here, if I click this symbol here and select edit with Copilot, allow direct edits to your workbook. It was actually not that long ago called AI, the title was AI agent, but this is you accessing the AI agent feature. Great, we're now in pretty much the exact same looking side chat bar as the Copilot Chat, but this is now AI agent. Okay, so just like that convoluted run through of the Copilot Chat that we just went through to find mistakes and errors in the data, I did the same with AI agent. And very quickly, it came up with this really cool system of sort of a traffic light system by which it found the errors and identified them, which ones were similar, and assigned them a color. So when it highlighted them on the workbook, it was sort of easy to reference, which I think is amazing. Like for anyone that comes across a workbook, they'll be able to see it so easily and be able to understand, looking at the AI response here, what each color means and what the mistakes are. So red for missing values, that's great. Category name, category type, incorrect category titles, that's correct. Incomplete campaign names in yellow, and what it's done here is it's immediately highlighted those cells in that color of where those mistakes are, which is fantastic, because if I had to check over this data before submitting it to be added to a slide and I wanted to run a quick check, it's just such a super simple way for it to do it for me, and so I can understand are there more particular types of mistakes that come up versus another type of mistake, and then that means I can then work out what kind of problems could be causing that. Really, really helpful. So that's all for today's video, guys, and I really hope you found something useful in the examples that we covered, and that there may be something in there that you might want to explore further. To recap what we looked at in today's video, we started looking at Copilot Chat functionality in Excel. That did certain things well, like summarizing the data really quickly, what we're looking at, as well as helping with certain tasks like cleaning the data, but it couldn't edit the data directly. Then when we shifted to Copilot AI agent, that could edit the data directly and did certain tasks like cleaning data much better. Now this goes without saying, but the examples we looked at in today's video only scratch the surface of what Copilot AI agent can do in Excel, and I'm really looking forward to exploring more examples of what it can do in future videos. So if you're keen to learn more tips and tricks on AI and automation in spreadsheets, give a like on this video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon for another video.